Hey everyone, welcome back to Devirai Technologies. In this video, we'll be picking up another new project from Upwork and try to implement that. So let's get started. This is a project that I have selected for this particular video, Python developer with OpenAI experience. Well, I'm no Python developer, will be building this script. So they're looking for a Python engineer who can write a Python script to write detailed answers to my questions using GPT-4o. I'll provide you the prompt and there is no special requirements anymore. So this is a very simple and straightforward project that we'll be creating. We'll be little bit adding more flavors to it. For example, we'll create this as an API, Python API. When called, with an input that is your system prompt and your question, and in response we'll be getting an answer to the question. Okay, so this will be a very simple script and we'll not be using OpenAI, we'll be using Azure OpenAI because we don't have any credits for OpenAI. Alright, let's get started. I'm on the VS Code and I'll be creating a new environment. Let's open the command palette, create environment, venv. I'll be picking up the latest version. Well, since I'm not an expert in Python, so I'll be making use of ChatGPT, online documentation, and so on. And important, I'll be making use of Azure OpenAI documentation. All right, so we have the environment created and also activated. So let's start. First thing first, we need Azure OpenAI and also this want us to use GPT-4o. Let's see if we have that available, and also I'll be checking in what region that model is available. So I'll go to models and GPT-4o. GPT-4o is the latest model from OpenAI. GPT-4 integrates text, images in a single model, enabling it to handle multiple data types simultaneously. Okay, and what region does it support? You can deploy if you are performing. Perfect. Let's see. GPT-4o and the regions. Okay, here it's not there. Okay, perfect. Here it is. GPT-4o, and it is available in East US and East US too. Okay, sounds good. So we do have East US region for our Azure OpenAI resource. So we already have created a lot of Azure OpenAI resource. It's not a rocket science. You just need to go to Azure portal and OpenAI, create a new resource. And if you do not have access to the Azure OpenAI, you need to access it through this particular form. Since for this subscription I do not have access, that's why it's showing me this error. And you need to request for Azure OpenAI resource so that you can create one. So if I change the subscription, okay, for this subscription I do have access. So I'll be selecting a resource group, select the region which works best for you and what model you will be mostly using, and give it a name and pricing tier. That's all. So I'm here on the Azure OpenAI Studio. I am going to deploy the GPT-4o model, and so where the model is here, select it, deploy. Okay, so deployment name, let's use the same name. Tokens per minute rate limit, let's say 70,000. Create. I'll go to deployments, and there we have the model ready. In order to use the model, we already have the code samples available on the chat option. We'll be picking it up for the Python. So I'll choose the deployment as GPT-4o, view code, and here we have the code available. Okay, let's copy this. So I have copied the code. I'm here at ChatGPT. I'll be asking the ChatGPT to convert this code into a Python API. Uh, Before that, I'll be asking it to create a Python API for me. Give me the detailed steps to create Python FastAPI. So I'll be using FastAPI. So I have already installed Python, so that's fine. Create a virtual environment. We have done. We have activated the virtual environment, and we need to install these packages. Okay, it went really deep. Okay, I'll ask it to, okay, before that, let me follow these steps and then I'll ask it to modify certain things. Okay, so let's install FastAPI and UVCon. Perfect. Next, create a main file, that is main.py. Let's create that. Main.py. Next, okay, so let's copy this code. So what it is going to do, it is going to return the hello world and get items, and use UVCon to run your application. Okay, I think we don't need other piece of code. For this requirement, we're just going to run a single endpoint that is on the root endpoint. Alright, so let's run this. Click on run, add configuration, Python debugger. Next is FastAPI. So we have created the configuration. Let's close this, and now we can run it. Run without debugging. So application is running on this particular URL. I'll be opening this on the web page, and there we have hello world. So this seems to be working fine. Thanks to ChatGPT, it allowed me to create this hello world Python API very quickly. Okay, now let me create that as a endpoint here, Q&A. Okay, and let me rerun this. Now it will not be available, so I'll have to go to that particular endpoint, Q&A, and there we have hello world. Okay, so this seems to be fine. Copy this code, ask ChatGPT, this is my updated endpoint and modify the above code and include the below. And what I meant to say that I want to run this particular code. So it will merge my Azure OpenAI code with my FastAPI. Wait a second, I do not want data sources in my piece of code. I want it to be very generic and a direct API call. So this has to be, yeah, this is the one that I really wanted. Role, system, content, and then role user. And to do that, I'll have to interact with this one to regenerate that piece of code. So I'll say hi, I'll view the code, I'll go to curl, and there it is. So this is the one I wanted. So let's go to ChatGPT and let's ask it to modify a few things. This is my JSON body. JSON request body. Modify the messages and remove extra body that we do not want. And also we'll be following the best practices here. To do that, we'll be creating .env file, and here we'll be adding few properties so that it can be visible from here. Let me ask Copilot. Let me ask Copilot how I can read it from .env file. So before that, let me ask, what is the best way to get configuration from configuration in Python FastAPI? Let me ask in this way. Okay, so there we have. Alright, so let's implement this. First of all, I'll need to install this package. Python.env. Requirement already satisfied, so it's already there, that's good. And my variable equals to my value. So let's add them. So to do that, we will need, okay, so let me get this right. Endpoint Azure OpenAI endpoint equals to, and I'll get that endpoint from here. Perfect. Next property is chat completion deployment name, and its name is GPT-4o. Where is that? GPT-4o. GPT-4 O. Okay, and what else we need? We need a key. But how this is getting authenticated? Using default Azure credential and cognitive services token provider for Azure OpenAI. How this is getting created? An instance of Azure is created with the endpoint and token provider. Alright, so in that case, I need a managed identity, I guess. Anyway, let's create only these two for now. And how we can implement this? Okay, let me remove this, add this piece of code, load.env and os.getEnv. Perfect. In that case, let me get rid of these. Go to ChatGPT, get the real code. And I just copied the code from the ChatGPT. And for that, I need this statement. Okay. Environment variables, and that will be get env. Even this will be get env. Perfect. And user, system, user, and assistant. So we don't need this piece here. User will be dynamic message. I'm not sure how I can initialize all this property. Is this correct way of doing? To check that, let's open Azure OpenAI documentation. Okay, quick start, chat, Python. First, let's install this one. Okay, let's install this one, OpenAI. It's done. What else we have? Retrieve key and endpoint. The library is maintained by OpenAI. Okay. Endpoint and API key. Okay. Azure OpenAI API key. Let's add that. And let me add my key here. Perfect. So I have three properties. Okay. Let me increase the size of this window so that it is visible to you all. Wait a second, I was zooming in. View. Where is the zoom in button? Appearance. Zoom in. Okay. Okay, now it must be perfectly visible to you all. All right. Okay, so I was on the documentation. This too we have done, create a new Python application. Okay, so this is how I can create the client. So let's do that. Token provider I don't need because I'll not be implementing that. So let's say key equals to Azure OpenAI key. Let me get its name of the key, Azure OpenAI API key. And client, how I can create it? This is how I can create it. I need endpoint Azure underscore key. Azure underscore key equals to key. And API key 2020 API version 2024-0201. That's good. So I have created the client. Perfect. Next, response. Deployment. Okay, that is fine. We have it. Okay, what I'll do, I'll not keep these settings. Messages, role assistant, role system, content that helps people find information, and this needs to be dynamic, and completion.toJSON. Okay, so in that case I'll be returning, okay, let me return the whole thing, that will be much better. And okay, let's ask ChatGPT, add question and system prompt as API request body. Let's see. Perfect. Let's replace the whole thing. No, we cannot replace the whole thing. First, let me add this. We don't need FastAPI class. So that will be here. What is next? So it changed it to post request because post request has the request body, and it changed the method to async. Read. Let me change this method name to a better AI answer. Okay. Create a chat completion request, a system message, system prompt, and body.question, and whatever the response will be coming, that will be sent directly. Perfect, perfecto. Okay, so let's start. Let's test this out. Let's stop this. Run without debugging. Okay, we have an issue. The issue is type function object is os.getEnv Azure OpenAI endpoint. Azure OpenAI endpoint. Azure OpenAI endpoint. Let's let me copy this whole as ChatGPT. Let's see. So what is the difference here? os.getEnv, that is with parenthesis. In this, I'm already using parenthesis, but let me just get this. Okay, let me rerun it. Stop, run without debugging. Azure key. Okay, okay, it's API key now. Earlier it was Azure key and now it is API key. API key. And Azure endpoint. Okay, it's API key. Perfect. Let's see if this is okay. This seems to be working. Application startup complete. Okay, so let's open Postman and see if this is working. So I'll create a new collection. Let's name this as Devirite Learn. Add a request. GPT-4 API. Let's post request, and this is my endpoint. I'll go to body, raw. Let's add the request body. Okay, and we have two properties, question and system prompt. Question and system prompt. Let's copy them from here. That is show JSON. So this is my system prompt. You are an AI assistant that helps people find information. Let's say hi. I'm not expecting this to run for the first time, but let's see. Perfecto, perfecto. So we are getting something. That's really nice. So we are getting something, but it is in string format. What I can do, I can replace the response. Let's get the response first. Let's say answer equals to, I'll go to documentation, response dot choice. This will get me the answer, and in my case it is not response, it is completion. And I'm going to return answer. So that's all. Let's see. Hello, how can I assist you today? That's perfect. Let me ask something else. Let's say who is the fastest man alive? As of my most recent update in October 2023, Usain Bolt, he holds the world record for 100 meters, 200 meters. Perfect. So this seems to work fine, and we have successfully achieved our requirement. So what was our initial query? I'm looking for a Python engineer who can write a Python script to write detailed answers to my questions. So it is open implementation, it is a common implementation. The person just needs to provide a system prompt and a question. So whatever way you like, you want a detailed response, just ask for it. So this particular Python API will be able to do that. Okay, perfect. So we successfully completed that, and thanks everyone. See you in the next video.